we were catching up, and you were telling me that you guys have like really ramped up production. You've got a lot more books in the works. Can you tell us a little bit about that right now?
We partnered with Sony Japan, and
Sick.
that
Congrats.
department.
Congrats. Hell yeah.
That's a big deal.
The cool thing I like about that department is like
You're listening to Studio 22. Welcome to Studio 22, boys.
Yo, thanks for having us.
yeah, for sure.
As always, we're here with Will Meldman, the co-host, and we've got the founders of Ex Posse.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, some fellow comic book homies. Yeah, we got Lorenzo and Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Thanks
Welcome
for
on,
having
boys.
us.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Well, dude, I mean, we could really start anywhere, but like, I'd love to know how you guys met originally. I don't think we ever even talked about that.
The origin story.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is it safe for on air?
Yeah, I think Shawnee could kick that off.
We there was this tour that this kind of rogue promoter, no one knew who he was. He wasn't from Live Nation or anything. He was just a trippy random guy in like New York who I think he had like a FedEx company or something, just random. And yeah, I think he was like a shipping entrepreneur or something. And I was in this band called Drown, and we were signed to David Geffen's company, and
Oh, nice. What kind of music?
it was like heavy and with like industrial loops and stuff.
Hell yeah.
And my singer like met that guy, and he was trying to put a tour together. And I had worked on the first Slipknot record as Ross Robinson's assistant, and I'd done a few records with him just as his kind of like wingman while he's producing these giant records. And we got a hold of that guy, and then all of a sudden the tour just started coming together really quickly, and Slipknot said yes.
Sick.
And then Hatebreed, I think, jumped on.
Slayer.
Sepultura.
Sepultura, Seven Dust.
Mm-hmm.
It was called Tattoo the Earth. Mm-hmm. It was a very unique festival that should be redone. It's been 20-something years now, 23, 24 years since we met. And they had like Paul Booth and Philip Blue, all these huge tattoo artists back in the day follow the tour. They were on the tour, so they have it was concert, obviously, 2 different stages, bands from every realm of metal and rock, and then you had a tattoo section where all these people were getting tattooed by these famous artists. So it was very cool. It was Tattoo the Earth only once, and it never happened again. But I think you know reasons why. But that's where we met. I was teching for the band Hatebreed. I was a guitar player and in a band called Sworn Enemy. But the singer Jamie Josta from Hatebreed started our band, and I became close with him, and we became really good friends. And I guitar teched for Boulder, who passed away, rest in peace. But that's when I met Shawnee.
Yeah. And Bill Fold,
Yeah.
pre-Coachella, because he's one of the
No,
founders.
Coachella started already.
Was it?
Yeah, 99.
Okay.
Yeah, so he already was, him and Paul started that.
And he was a
Along with-
tour manager.
For Amen.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. He was their tour manager, and he was just starting Coachella.
That's wild.
Hell yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
And I remember those first Coachellas the turnout wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Oh, it
We
was
lost millions.
substantially smaller than it is now.
Yeah.
Like, because I think I went like probably 8 out of the 10 years from age like 18 to 28, and it started like good, big big festival, but by the time I was like 28, I'm like, 1, I'm too old to be here, but 2, like just massive.
Yeah.
Like you can't even walk. Like
Who was headlining those back in the day now?
The
Chili Peppers,
Tool.
Oh,
Tool,
sick.
Tool and Rage was the first one.
Rage,
That's
yeah.
tight.
And they crowd didn't turn up. And they lost their shirt
Damn.
on it. And it was rough.
Was it just because the location, or we didn't get the word out, or it was too new?
All of it, probably, and no one knew where Indio was.
Or
They just didn't.
They didn't understand to get out there. There wasn't Airbnb. There wasn't all these hotels that it
Right.
was just it wasn't gentrified for festivals, I guess.
No.
Yeah.
But they did a great job.
Yeah.
You know? Bill was awarded some award for like best something in Palm Springs. You know.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he's been a believer with our Ex Posse crew, and so we came kind of full circle, and I think when Bill and I met Lorenzo, and of all the characters backstage, you'd imagine all those bands, like everyone's got a funny team.
Yeah.
Hey Breed rolled pretty deep. You know, it was very like high school like cafeteria
clicky,
vibes. And Slayer's got their whole squad, you know, and Lorenzo really stuck out. Me and Bill were always like, who's that? Telling Lorenzo would wear like these Timberlands and these big ass shorts, and he had like a gold chain with a gold cross. I think it was like this fucking big. It was so big. And he'd wear a wife beater, like a Scully cap, and you just see Lorenzo rolling. And all of us are like, "Who's that fucking guy?" We always were like, "Where's that Lorenzo guy?" We loved him. He was like too good to be true. It was just the character, the personality on him was so great.
The 22-year-old Lorenzo, completely different animal than I am today. Trust me.
But yeah, it was just hilarious. And then the shenanigans every night after the show was just like the ridiculous things going on the buses, and just like 20 buses parked next to each other. And it's just like mayhem going on.
No fun at all. You know, like,
and yeah, I think that's where we met Lorenzo, Bill and I. And I've known Bill for like 30 years, probably. He was producing concerts in Riverside, and he had a venue that held like 1,000 people, and like he'd put a show on, and like 1,000 kids would turn up, you know, and it would be like, I don't know, Face to Face and Social D or something like that, you know. And Rage would play shows for him, and No Doubt would play his place.
Gwen Stefani, baby.
And Travis Barker was living on his couch, I think.
Nice.
I think they were, I'm pretty sure. I know he paid Travis to tear tickets at the door.
So awesome.
Dude.
That was like one of his door guys, I think. I'm saying.
Shout out to Bill. Bill's one of the most low-key motherfuckers you'll ever meet. You'll never meet him. You won't know what he looks like. He's like a fucking...
He's like a Russian spy.
He's the fucking best. Fucking huge believer in us, and fucking so fucking what he's done with Coachella and all the other concerts and Golden Voice and whatever they've done is just unbelievable.
So I think Lorenzo and I took the project, the idea, down to there's an original guy named Terrence who's from Santa Ana.
Okay.
And he came up in a rough area in Santa Ana, and he was a person I had gone to pre-Lorenzo because I had done 3 movies with him. He wrote these horror musicals called The Devil's Carnival that had a big following.
Oh, cool.
And we did like Real Business at Hot Topic, and there was a lot of people wearing our T-shirts around and tattoos. And
Hot Topic's a big. They're one of the biggest vendors at LA Comic-Con.
Yeah,
they're like a big
Okay, so like I had gone to him because that Devil's Carnival kind of came to an end after 2 of the movies, but I'd learned a lot, and that was the director of Saw 2, 3, 4. He directed those 2. I had consulted on this Lionsgate movie called Repo that had a big cult following.
I remember Repo.
I had a good job. I had an office in Westwood. I was working with a streaming company. Everything was good. And Darren, like, you know, hey, you want to produce this movie, you know? And I was like, I don't know how. What does that mean? How do you do that? You know? And he was like, no, you can do it. You're a hustler. You can do it.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know how, but okay, you know? And so that was the beginning, you know? So I produced Devil's Carnival, and then I produced a sequel, and I liked the Black Fingernail audience, the Hot Topic kids. I think Bill hooked us up with the Honey Wagons for the fucking stuff, you know, and I just started putting it together, and I was like, okay, I think I see how this works. Yeah. And then after those movies, I went to the writer, Terrence, who wrote all 3 of those movies, and we met up at this shady bar and I was like, I want to do something like the Warriors meets Lost Boys with like a side order of Twilight, but not that clean and nice, grimy. And so that Terrence and I kind of started shaping it into just to kind of make it something you can touch. It needed it's really changed and grown, but that was the like foundation to just start.
Yeah.
You know, because I think it's people just have to start, or you'll just talk about it forever.
Yeah.
And
Always write it down. Get your ideas out. Yep.
And it's like, I think if you put a bunch of people in a room, if we put a piece of canvas on an easel, and everyone had a brush and a paint, you stare at it, you could stare at it for a year, or someone could just paint a little circle on it, and then you'll go, what if you put some blue on there? Green might be cool, and you add that, and then you're started.
Yeah.
You might throw that thing away a week later, but you got started.
Yeah, better than sitting there for another year still talking about what you're going to do, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And so I had been thinking like Lorenzo would be such a great person to bring into the mix. Authenticity, street credibility, big personality, the strategy that he would think of would be a good balance. And we have another person who's really important to the team, this guy Mark, who's more of a studio exec, and he has a whole skill set of its own, you know, and so Lorenzo and I went down. I remember talking to Lorenzo about it at
Coachella. Yeah, me, you, and John.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's Steven Tyler's old manager, one of his old managers is a shareholder in our company, and we talked to Lorenzo about it at Coachella.
So producing, right? That's team building.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's one of my favorite aspects of producing is team building. And I love how you just explain that. Like he has his skills, he has his skills. Together we're gonna kick ass.
Yeah.
Right? Like I love that.
Yeah. I you know, and you try not to have too much you're gonna have some overlap, but if you gotta I don't want to speak sport. I can't articulate sports too well, but like, you know,
Toolbox.
Yeah,
Think of a toolbox.
Yeah. So, but it is, you know, you have your quarterback and your wide receivers and so forth. If you're going to break it out that way, but like we wanted to put together this kind of squad, and we wanted it kind of a little rough and ready. You know, we're a scrappy group of dudes, you know, and we went down to the Golden Voice offices to pitch Bill to get involved, and he doesn't live in the space at all. He just we had this little lookbook, and he just looked through it. He was like, I don't know what this is, but it looks cool.
Yeah.
We didn't even know what it was yet.
And he was like, I'm in. You know.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
And he's just like, this looks cool. Yeah, okay, yes.
Sick.
That's kind of how it went down.
Yeah.
And we just built it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when was that? How long ago was that?
2016, 2017. We started moving it down.
Yeah.
It's about
6,
10
7
years now.
Yeah.
No, 7 years, 8 years, but it wasn't ideally wasn't supposed to be comic books, you know. It was just like we wanted to make a movie and try to go shoot something cool that hasn't been done in this universe. And we had, we were like every other producer and writer and director in LA trying to figure out how to get another piece of paper and a lookbook, made from scratch. And we were just burning out. It was just, so we didn't have the idea, but our friend Patrick gave Shawnee the idea.
Well, so Mark was like, this world's so big. I've been lucky getting movies made because I know the price point that I'm able to go get them made, where I'm not. We've always had this joke, like I don't want to start Soho House Studios, which is like a lot of people talking about $75 million movies. And
Right.
And like I don't speak that language, you know. I like to identify a price that we can back into, and we did it with with Darren, we did it in Japan with Hulu. They had come with a napkin pitch, and it was
Really?
nothing. Yeah, it was a napkin pitch for a TV show, but it was already greenlit, and they gave us the budget, so we had to back the whole show into the budget backwards.
Wow.
They were like, you have $700,000 an episode or something. It was like 6 episodes or 30 minutes, and we were like, okay. And the guy had an idea on a fucking paper towel, and it's already approved. And then we had to create the whole thing into that thing, right? So
That's kind of cool, though.
it was
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But with this, we were like, okay, we're gonna make it for $2 million, and then it was like, now we got to write it. You know what I mean? But it's like
Right.
we didn't want it to get stuck on some pile. It was like, no, we're really gonna go do it for
Yeah.
real. So all the meetings were like, no, we're actually doing it, and we've been doing it. So this one is special. And then people would call and try to option it, and we said no. We got a lot of we've been really blessed to get a lot of good press, and then the phone rings each time, and it's always an option. That isn't attractive.
Well, it means you're doing something right.
Yeah. But we get those calls, and it's like no, or we get close on something, and our gut would say, this feels, we're taking a shortcut, or I don't know that we always kind of like, no, this thing's got to be a thing, but not this thing has to be $1 trillion. Just it has to feel right. We got to have the right squad. It's just got to be the right thing. It's got to be a good vibe, and there's going to be a budget for it. But we try not to create these. If we don't have so and so attached, we're not going to get the foreign sales against the da and da da da. Like we really try to stay clear of that.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a certain amount of money that you can access, I mean, you almost get anything made, right? That's certainly the hard part, is getting money committed to the project, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I love that. You know what you have, and then you're like, okay, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
No more sitting around. We're going to go make it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
We'll make a poster very early on, and then all the credit block is just like X's.
Right. we had one of those on the resort, all the fill-in stuff. Yeah.
And we like to manifest it into, we have a movie coming out in April called Trim Season. And
Trim season?
Yeah.
Dude, hell yeah.
And
congrats.
It's about getting shredded.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So
Totally shred movie.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, well, it was so weird how things work. I was in Portland after Devil's Carnival 2, and that didn't have a great ending on it. There was a lot of friction involved with that. And I was really depressed, and this friend of mine, I went to see him just to kind of kill time because I was so depressed about how that movie had gone. And he was like, hey, man, do you know about these people going missing in Humboldt County? And I was like, what is it? He's like, weed trimmers.
Shit.
Yeah.
I was like, no. He's like, yeah, during the trim season. I was like, that sounds scary. He goes, well, I have a synopsis. And I was like, all right. And he sent the synopsis, and I knew about a writer that we had worked with. And I didn't want it to be five girls die in the woods.
Right.
So, I was like, well, can I play around with it? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, what if we put a witch in the woods? And she runs the grow, and she needs they're going missing because she needs them for something. Maybe the soil. That was kind of my pedestrian idea. And
Yeah, getting the wheels going.
yeah. And then I called this writer and was like, what if there's a witch in the woods? The girls are going missing. She needs their blood. She's taking something from the girls maybe and putting it into the ground, and the ground's sacred. I don't want it to be true crime. Something more horror.
More supernatural kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah. Because I was like, I don't know if I can sell true crime. I don't know if I'm any good at it. Never done it.
Right.
Only horror and thrillers. So
Stick to what you know.
I didn't want to botch something, especially with someone else's money, and screw it. You know what I mean? I was like, I kind of know how to do this pretty good, So, it's based on people do go missing up there a lot during?
Oh, I've read a bunch of crazy stuff up there in Humboldt. I that's a great topic for a film. I'm excited for that.
And we had fun making it.
Yeah.
We went to Utah
Utah, baby.
and shot it.
Was there any up north in the Bay or in Humboldt that you did or?
Well, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got a lot of pickup shots there.
Oh, cool.
And then turns out the canyons we were in Utah were, I guess, almost perfectly compatible. Very close
Right,
to the
right.
trees and
Wow.
stuff.
It's the same like latitude.
Yeah.
Right. It's like
Which
you
I
just
didn't
go
know.
east. Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, but like to the point, like I think the first thing I had was a poster, and then I like took the poster to a writer, and they were like, "This looks really cool. Love the name." I was like, "Yeah, picture this," and then
Yeah.
they wrote into that, and then it's like, "All right, fix these things," and then it was like that went to a business partner, and she was like, "I love it. Just gotta."
Dude, can you help me pitch my movies now?
and then we just started like making artwork and stuff, and then like I think I took a meeting with the director and showed her the art, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh wow, this is cool, there's something here,
Yeah.
that kind of thing,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
what we've been doing.
Yeah. So then that's turned into Lipstick Click, and
So
is that where Ex Posse, like that's where it all originated, and then now it's this, or is it?
I mean,
What's under the umbrella of what you guys have?
under
Night of
the
the Cadillacs.
Night of
Yeah.
the Cadillacs was the original idea, and they had all these different gangs.
Yeah.
So we were like, we want a Latina gang, we want a female Asian girl gang, we want the scrappy kind of Ventura, OC, like scrappy punk dudes, and we wanted these kind of like slick, handsome, kind of like old school Matt Dillon kind of crew of lady killers, these guys.
Like the Outsiders type of thing?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
And very drugstore cowboy Matt Dillon era. And then we
The Chamberlains. more
we wanted
English.
we wanted a
rude
like
boy.
posh, like British black kind of like TSA's Bentleys, not West Coast but more like England. Grime, the drill music grime, like that kind of Jamaican accent, Jamaican British accent, if I'm not messing that up right now, but something like that has a different vibe to it.
A lot of different cultures and, different groups. I mean, that's reflective of the world, right? You want to show, what the world is and how many different people there are and how unique we are, right? What are some of your favorite characters within each gang? Or gang, is gang the right term? I didn't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're all gangs. I mean, shit. You got our guy Stiv. He's like the pretty boy, lady lover. All the ladies love him. You got the Stitches is kind of like perfect for me and Brock. Those kind of characters.
I love that name, the Stitch.
The Stitches, and then you got like Killtown is a Korean Asian girls that are just badass, hot. They'll fuck you up.
Yeah.
They'll ruin your life. And then the cholas is our like they're shape shifting cholas that are sexy tattooed gangbangers, and they're fucking sick with their fangs, and they'll ruin your life too.
Yeah.
And they got these crazy fucking razor ribbon lassos that rip people's heads off. They're,
Sick.
and then you got the Chamberlains,
Yeah.
which he was just elaborating on, and that was our, like Ghost Royce. He's like a, I mean, what would you like?
Yeah, he's got like dreads. They have this kind of like crazy makeup, because what we really wanted to make sure was like nothing's normal, like everything's stylized. Like everyone's got to have a cool style. So style is like really important to us. So we didn't want anybody to just be plain, like you could do a drama. No one fits in a drama, right? So like all the Chamberlains have like this face paint and grills, and they wear these really nice suits, and we're inspired by a lot of old kind of 70s movies too from that era, like with
Oh, for sure.
Pam Grier and stuff. Just
Yeah.
like that cool flavor. you know. So, yeah, those are the primary, and then they all live in a place called Blood World City, and that's run by a guy named Papa Duke, who's like this Serbian.
I love that name too, Papa Dude.
And he has a sister, and then he has a wife that he stole. He was in love with this woman, and she was married to another woman. And he threw her wife off a balcony and then basically made her marry him. He's like the worst person in the world. Right?
Yeah.
He's awful.
Sounds like he gets what he wants, though.
He's a psycho maniac, and he has this kind of sidekick named Ives who follows him around everywhere and does a lot of grimy stuff for him. He's
Like his mini-me.
yeah. We really wanted if he's kind of running the show, because all these gangs are really serious people.
Yeah.
We needed him to be just the most awful person ever, so that they know that he's got something above all of them. So he needs to be feared.
Yeah, I think that's really smart with villains, right? You kind of have different tiers of villains, and you can really have fun with that of like who's afraid of who and like who can beat who, 100%.
Yeah. So
And it's hard to create that too. It's not the easiest thing to like really develop those characters. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what we kind of dreamed of was we were able to have a couple of things go our way recently, and we were able to get different collaborators to speak on behalf of the characters, right? So we have a Latina writer writing Lipstick Cliqa. We have a Korean woman writing the Kill Town. We have a gentleman in Brooklyn, and in Miami, they're a team writing for the Chamberlains. We wanted to make sure the voices speaking on their behalf were as authentic as possible to the culture.
Yep.
So, and we have like even the people writing for Papa Duke. We have an amazing writer named Amy. She's writing his voice, and then we have this amazing writer named Anna writing the stitches, which are like all scrappy dudes,
Mm-hmm.
So different writers for different groups.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
So we have all of them writing separately at the same time,
Yeah.
and then we let them know if there's a time narrative that would clash. So if there's Lipstick Cliqa stories being written over here, and then the Killtown stories being written over here, we have to monitor that they don't crisscross a date that's wrong, or
Yep.
you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
I mean,
Consistency in the canon, right? You want the canon to be, consistent. There's another word for it that I'm trying to think of right now, but absolutely. Canon is so important.
Yeah.
Keeping all that.
And one of our partners, Mark, he's been in the studio system forever. He works, I think, does a lot of work with Amblin and stuff.
Nice.
And he's really like micro with that stuff.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What made you want to go down the vampire route?
I don't know.
Well, you wanted to do Lost Boys meets the Warriors.
Yeah.
So Lost Boys is just, such a classic film, and The Warriors is such a classic film. You make that hybrid of vampire street gangs, which you really have never seen besides a Blade-ish vibe that, their underworld is kind of ganged up.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
you have those two gems and you mix it together and you loop it into today's culture with what's going on in our world today. You have something kind of fresh and new, and we stay away from having cloaks and tight pants, and we don't want superhero shields. We don't want
Dracula.
No.
We want it to be as grimy as street as possible. We want them to talk like we talk, street guys, or anybody that's from that culture, that's how they talk. You want them to have that, so they speak to that audience. They speak to you want the authenticity to be really from the world we're creating. Even though they're from Blood World City, which is a parallel universe anyway to our world. It's a completely different place, but at the same time, who knows? We might have a parallel universe somewhere out there. There could be a whole nother podcast happening 7 billion miles away. You know what I mean? You just never know.
There probably is, in fact.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I believe that.
Are we
shit.
able to monetize on those ones as well? Bring them back to us.
No comment.
No, that's awesome, man. Yeah, it's a fun world. The more you guys talk about it and what we've read and what you've shown with us, obviously over the time frame, it's exciting to see where it's going. And I know we caught up recently at a premiere at Divinity, right, with Eddie Alcazar, a good buddy of mine directed, and producer was Steven Soderbergh, and it was fun, man. It was a different, a wild one. It was a wild ride that took me on, man. I think we're gonna have him on the pod soon, but we were catching up, and you were telling me that you guys have really ramped up production. You've got a lot more books in the works. Can you tell us a little bit about that right now?
We partnered with Sony Japan, and
Sick.
that
Congrats.
department.
Yeah, congrats. Hell yeah.
That's a big deal.
The cool thing I like about that department is they're so nimble. I'll go over to their office and it's oh, we're gonna take you to this stadium esports thing, and it's oh, for your games. Well, yeah, but no, we're producing it. You're the producers of the event, yeah, and then we're gonna take you to a drone racing event. I'm what? What is it? It's Blade Runner.
I've seen those.
Yeah, and they're
great.
We have a drone racing thing. I'm crazy, and then we want to take you over to meet the PlayStation guy. And it's but they have music in their title because they do it, but Aniplex is a massive animation company, and that's part of their division. So,
oh wow!
So they would always joke with me the music part in their title is small in the world of what they do, but they do also music.
Right, it's all encompassing, kind of in that new tech world. Yeah, that makes sense.
But their title is Sony Music Entertainment Japan, SMEJ. And then their logo, so you don't confuse it with Sony Music America. Their logo's a little different. It says Sony Music, but this American one says Sony with a little paintbrush thing. And they're very autonomous in their. They have an office here, obviously, and then their offices in Japan are insane. Right?
Yeah, for clarity, Sony is a Japanese company, obviously, and that's the major headquarters. That's the corporate headquarters. So it's the cream of that's the top of the food chain of Sony.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did the deal.
That he directly has the relationship with these guys for years.
That's incredible. Mm-hmm. That's a dream scenario for an IP, right?
It is, and to be honest, they didn't give us insane amounts. They weren't here's $1 jillion. It was just here's some
working capital.
Yeah,
right.
To expand. It's not pouring down cash, right? It's just but it was
Yet.
yeah, not COVID. But we have 21 books in production now.
Yep.
And we have an art studio out of Brazil, storyboarding, Killtown.
One of my main colorists, Denai Ribeiro, shout out. He's down in Brazil. Mm-hmm. He is. I love his work.
Yeah, you guys, your art looks beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I mean, thank you. It's all them, right? It's all
shout out to the guys who make it happen.
Yeah. But there's a huge, really good professional comic book industry in Brazil, for sure.
Mm-hmm. In Manila.
Yeah.
We have 4 studios in Manila. So because of the time difference, every night, 3 or 4 in the morning, if I go to the restroom or something, I look down at my Viber, and it's just pages popping in from
right
4 different studios.
Isn't that the best feeling though, getting new art?
It
right,
is.
I run to Brock every time.
And you know, you got to poke people, and you know, please hurry. What's taking so long?
Yeah.
And then you're like, I can't rush the creative process, right? Like that's always the excuse, and it's like, no, like deadlines are healthy.
Yeah,
Deadlines are healthy. Like,
Well, you could always go back to when we had no money and it was kicking and screaming with 5 cents
yeah,
to get everything going too. That was always a lot of stress for all of us, mainly Shawnee, and you know, taking something from nothing and turning it into something is the fucking hardest thing in the world, man.
Yeah.
yeah.
There's nothing more harder than turning nothing into something.
I
So
completely agree.
Yeah.
It requires an insane amount of work ethic, which you guys both have in spades, right? It requires the passion and the creativity to want to do it, right? And I love that you said that because that's something we talk about a lot on the podcast, right? Is what are you interested in? What do you love? And what are you going to do to get there, right? What have been some of your biggest obstacles, would you say, along the way? That's usually a good...
Resources.
Yeah.
Just not having resources that because what we're trying to build, we forget is like Mount Everest, you know? And if you compare yourself to Mount Everest, you're like, well, look at all these things I don't have, you know, tools. Because you guys are gnarly worker, psycho like us, you know? And it's like, you see, you know, people say, well, you're not competing. I mean, you kind of are, and you aren't. We're not, but like in the community, there's a allotted amount of airtime and budgets and productions, and you know, we've all seen other things go that we're like, how did that go? You know, or
Right.
and you try not to like. You want to just root for everyone all the time, but you know, you're looking, going, well, we want a place, we want a piece of land in this too, you know, and we've got something we think's pretty hip, and we could use some resources to swing the bat at it, you know?
Well, what would be your advice for people out there where, you know, they have an idea and they are limited on resources, but they're trying to, you know, get something done? Like, what were a few, like, moves you can make to kind of...
I mean, one of the people we're really impressed with that works with us is we have the writer of Lipstick Cliqa is a person actually she'd be a great guest for you guys. Her name's Kaden Phoenix, and Latina, and she like built. She did a Kickstarter. She was like, "There's no Latina superheroes anywhere." She's like, "I can't find any," which is insane. And she's like, "I'm starting a universe, you know." And she like kickstarted a graphic novel, and then went to every comic book store and like every single store and did signings.
Blue Beetle. That's one.
That's the Latino.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
was
Yeah.
Latino.
But
Latina.
she's Latina.
Yeah.
Well, right. I wasn't
So
focused on
Yeah.
the gender.
She had
She kickstarted a book.
yeah.
Within Blue Beetle, like within those groups of characters, they're
superhero.
They're both
Yeah,
types of genders.
Yeah.
and, like,
Okay.
but-
I
That's
mean,
DC, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So she built this universe, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to collaborate with her, because she's like so proactive on like not waiting and just starting,
Yeah.
just like start.
Fucking
And
start.
she literally did a Kickstarter. It was successful. She just signed a big publishing deal. She's got like 10 books coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Like maybe 12.
She sounds like she kicks ass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd have a really inspiring podcast with her for sure. And she's got a big manager now, negotiating with the big studios. Like
Yeah,
she's gonna blow up any second now.
Yeah. We'd love to have her on.
And we were lucky to meet her, and she liked the project, you know. But I think the advice, I think, is like, some people have more resources than others, right? But like, it's just punk rock, you know. If you can be punk rock, you can get started, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if that's a good answer to someone listening that is like, well, I literally have minimal to no resources. But
Yeah.
I mean, our whole universe was built out of Starbucks, Coffee Bean,
Yeah.
We had no resources to
Yeah.
get into the comic book space.
Nothing.
Nothing. It was just a dream to get this into something, to turn it into something. It's The Rock has a great saying. He goes, "One day or day one. I'm gonna do this one day or day one. Start, go, no matter what, and just like vision board it. Go, grind, kick and scream, and you got to work for free. You got to do favors. You got to get any kind of piece of it. Whatever you got to do to get anything in motion, get the ball rolling. You want to just do everything in your power with your. If you have zero resources, she must have not had any resources. Start a Kickstarter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. That's all your resources you need. You say you find a problem, you figure out the solution. That's it. She was like, "There's no Latina superheroes." Boom.
She can fix it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to put it out in the universe. You got to talk about it, and that's even moments like this, or if you're at a coffee shop and you're talking about, I got this idea, this and that. I want to do this. I don't have the money yet. Whatever. You don't know who you're going to be talking to. You don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know if they're going to introduce you to somebody, and it's going to open that door. You want to do it. It's a matter of being, like you guys are saying, proactive, right? And just like you said, The Rock has a great quote. I've always loved the one from Quentin Tarantino. He says, "You don't have to go to film school. You don't have to know how to make a movie. You don't have to have these amazing cameras and lenses and all that stuff." He's like, if you love making movies, if you really love making movies,
You love
you
cinema.
can make a great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you love cinema,
remember that.
exactly.
Dude.
And it's that. It's if you love it, go fucking do it. Like figure it out. And the thing too, it's like I've been in these places that are amazing. Like Legacy Effects, for example. They make all the suits for Marvel, every kind of Sasquatch or crazy, Halo suit or whatever you can on the high, $5 million for the little Baby Yoda, which someone's gonna fire me for that, right?
It's so sick.
But then I've been in there and I've seen all that, and it's mind blowing. It's amazing, right? And they're doing it on the highest level. But then they'll constantly bring people in that are innovators of like, oh yeah, I made this Predator mask out of like Coca-Cola cans and twigs, or whatever, and it looks sick. And they're like, how did you do that? Like we can't even figure that out or do that. And it's because they're going out and finding a way. If you love something, and that's what I say all the time, dude. There's always a way.
Yeah.
There is.
It may not be the way you think it's supposed to go, or the way it's gonna, but there is a way.
Yeah.
You just got to find that way and go do it.
Yeah. And I think writing stuff on a whiteboard,
So many whiteboards around the house. Yeah.
because you have to stare at it.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't do that thing I wrote, And you write it up there, and then you got to check it off.
Live with it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone's got their opinions on it, but I'm a big fan of checklists too, man. Like I like to just have it there, get it done, check it off, move on to the next thing. I don't think about it anymore. But if it's open box, that thing's gonna drive me nuts too.
Yeah.
Especially if it's something you don't feel like doing, that's a pain and not glorious or fun. You especially write that up there.
Yeah.
Because it's like you want to put it off because it sucks, but put it up there. Like he always hears me complain about administrative stuff makes me insane.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
me punching into a spreadsheet is a bad idea.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And me organizing taxes and stuff is a horrible idea.
Yeah.
And it's just like a gallon of coffee and just like two fingers packing a bunch of stuff. But like,
Miserable.
you gotta, if you don't file, you lose your trademark. You lose your trademark, you just wasted your time. Your copyright, all that stuff. And if I don't put it on the whiteboard, I will blow that off.
You got to go through the sacrifice. You can take the route of, least resistance and get a job, and that's your 9 to 5, or you can be your own entrepreneur and build something from nothing, and the hopes that you have something with an exit that's so life-changing, that's unbelievable, changes everybody's life around you. But to get that, you have to go through the pain, the sacrifice, the sleepless nights of how you're going to pay your bills. You don't have a salary coming in. That is when your resources and every idea of how do I make things going, that's where all that stems from, is because you have no other way to figure it out but to figure it the fuck out. And you go and kick and scream and cry and grind and just fucking, how am I going to get to that next level? and constantly believe in yourself, believe in what you do. Don't spread yourself too thin on a bunch of things that you don't believe in. Do a bunch of things you do believe in. And then I think that's how you can build something, you know, when you have no resources, nothing. Because, I mean, I played guitar. When I got into this business, I didn't know anybody. And then I got introduced to a singer, and we started our band, and then we was on tour around the world for 10 years. Then I met Shawnee. I met a lot of people in my life in the music business, but it started from nothing, from day one. The day one, I went to a practice studio when I was 15 to meet the singer of the band that I had a career with. From 15 years old to 23, we signed to Elektra Records. That's almost 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's we did nothing but try to figure it out from there until 93 to 2003. Our record came out. Think about that. That's how you know, when you have no resource. But if you have resources, then you got to learn how to utilize them, because I know so many people with so many resources, they don't know how to do anything with it. And that's shocking.
It's a really good point, honestly. It's not just resources, right? It's all those
Execution.
things. And you articulated it better than I'm going to even try to right now. But it's essentially, you know, that's where I think the intangibles come in. If resources are the tangible thing that gets it made, it's all the intangibles, the passion stuff we're talking about, the work ethic, all that. And yeah, it is kind of surprising, the people that have the resources, just no drive, you know, or they don't believe in it or whatever. But you know, it's just switch up and find something else that you do like, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, man. So what's the dream vision for you guys?
Be as big as Marvel.
Hell yeah.
I think we're speaking to a different community a bit too. Like, we have a slogan that says "No capes, no tights,"
Yeah.
and it's like, what was it? We had this saying. It was like, because we were making apparel, but we didn't want it to feel like merch. We wanted it to feel like apparel, and we called it streetwear for gangster nerds. And
That's cool.
we wanted, like, if the you know, quote unquote nerdy person wanted to have like a scrappy go-to brand, we wanted to be that for them. And then if a scrappier person wanted to kind of be a little fairy tale supernatural-ish, we wanted to be the brand for that person.
Yeah.
So that's why we have characters like Ghost Royce and Little Trey and Marissa, Little Snap, and because we think we know who the community is that we can relate to. And I don't know, can a teenage kid in the Bronx relate to Captain America at the moment? Maybe not. You know, I don't know. Maybe not. We think we know who our black fingernail polished kids are, and
There's millions of them.
millions of them. We think that's who our crowd is, you know, and they keep calling us like a punk rock Marvel, which we think is kind of fun. But like, we want to get resources we want to have a standalone Lipstick Cliqa movie. We want to have a standalone Killtown movie. I guess next steps would be that we think are realistic would be, after these books are starting to come out, we want to have an audio division. We want to have songs for all the gangs, original songs, vinyl, playlist. We want to have a music company that is telling the narratives.
Being at Sony, I mean, that's perfect,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I guess the most realistic thing we're trying to do now is go, how do we go make the Stitches at a price, standalone movie, Killtown, Lipstick Cliqa, how do we go make these separate? Because we feel if we have a small boutique company and these books are out and they're in the stores, and then our brand is at the front of a couple of standalone movies, we think there would be somebody at a senior level at some place would come in and say, let us pour gas on this for you guys. That's what we're strategizing, is what we think is obtainable. Is we think we could probably raise the right capital to get those going, and then unless we really screw that up somehow, I think we believe there's a partner somewhere that's like, you guys have driven the car pretty well, but let us give you some turbo gas.
There's a saying, we didn't get this far just to get this far.
Yeah.
We got a long ways to go.
Dude, you're one-upping us on the sayings this episode. I love it. The rock one I love. That one I love. That's great.
And we've been doing a lot of branding. We did a beer collaboration.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Tarantula Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, Lipstick Cliqa. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
in all
Shout out.
Yeah.
Circus liquors. It's like
Yeah.
the SoCal Mexican lager. It's actually, I didn't taste it because I don't drink. But if they have an NA one, let's create an NA non-alcoholic beer. I'll drink that any day. But I'm sure it's delicious.
But it was fun to walk in the store and see it.
I went and shot a couple of places. I went to the valley somewhere. It was friggin' far out in the valley. I was like, I love it going out here, and then there's our beers in there. I'm like, that's so cool.
And I think it's too, just to put the message out too, that we're not just ink on paper, you know. And there's a candle company doing Lipstick Cliqa candles now, and there's another beer drop coming, and we're gonna probably keep doing collabs with our brands on top of the books to kind of, I don't know, start stamping, you know? And you know, but yeah, the next step would be live action. That's what we want to do next.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I'm sitting here. When did you guys first meet? Is there a good story there?
We know each other from the gym, but with my other company, we have like we were building supplements, or we were doing fragrance, or we were doing cosmetics, or we were doing we do fragrance now. Ashley Benson's fragrance called Ash by Ashley Benson. That one's doing well, but in the time we were curating all that, you know, we were introduced by a former employee to Brock and his friend what was it? Eddie, and we met at Craig's, and we hit it off. We're both the birthdays are the same day pretty much, and we're both Leos, and we're both at the gym, and we're just like we instantly became brothers. So that's how. And then we started talking about comics, and I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And then that's when we met, and I was like, "You guys are so similar. We're so similar." Like it's like this is like it was just like we just became, and then we have great stories in Mammoth, but we'll leave that to the when we bring Rob Weiss on the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, he said he wants to come. I was on FaceTime with him earlier, so we got to do another podcast, Rob.
Yeah,
we'll talk about the Mammoth,
Oh, man.
the Mammoth Day.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So we had obviously, when we get into the live action stuff with the Stitches, him and I's characters would be really, based on our characters. I mean, we're just like, he's from Orange County, so that's a whole nother animal of just like how authentic it is to where Shawnee kind of spawned these characters with Terrence. And, everything happens for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Like nothing, and the fact that you guys were just launching your comic when Kane, the first issue came out, it was just like you guys were still like in pencil mode. I remember when we went to Craig's, all of us,
dude, we had a
and
great
you were
dinner.
you were still in pencil. You were still penciling. You weren't even coloring yet. You had like the cover colored.
Started writing another thing you said that resonated was I think it was about writing, where it's like just go over and over again. Maybe it was you, I can't remember, but essentially just keep going and going and going, throw it out, start over. Because that was my process with the writing, was I rewrote the first issue like 30 times, and then, kept growing after that. But anyway, not to tangent too far on that, but that just resonated with me. Just grind it out for sure. But yeah, that was a great dinner.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Oh yeah. Good old Craig's.
Yeah, man.
So you guys have way more books than last time.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, well, if we're going all the way back, right? We're doing a bunch of big announcements at Comic-Con, so we're kind of saving some for that. But yeah, we have 10 books between the 2 volumes of Kane and McKenna, volume 1 of each, and then we're announcing 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 new. I I guess we can call them franchises within the franchise, right? Kind of like you guys have the different, where different periods in history, ancient Greece, ancient Rome, stuff like that. But yeah, we'll be announcing, 15 to 20 new books.
You guys have variants coming out too?
Yeah, we're working on some variants, like Kane Volume 1, that we did like a sweet wraparound cover for that, which
Sick.
is pretty cool, right? But yeah, working on some cool variants.
Awesome. Yeah,
exciting.
we should definitely at one point, figure out how to get on the lot with Shawnee and spitball how to, cross the universes at one point, or something.
I mean, that would be epic, right?
Yeah, cruise over. Let's have lunch. Let's figure out how to Kane gets.
Let's manifest us
gets
into some
gets
new
in a
world.
fight with Ghost Royce.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it the Culver lot, the Culver City one?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where the majority of the Ray Donovan studio stuff was. So
You used to work there?
Well, on the show, like
Oh, sick.
when I was a PA on Ray Donovan, a lot of the
My
stuff
man.
was on it.
You started from the bottom. I love hearing that.
Yeah, I was a PA from like 17 to 24, doing
Fuck
different
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, it's fun as hell.
Yeah, you
Action
learn
packed.
everything, man. You
Yeah.
learn. I PA'd for my boy Zach. For his commercial company, I PA'd for like a week just to know what it's like. I
Yeah.
did background just to know what it's like. A few times when I was starting to act. You know what I mean? It's like I was never too good for anything. Like that's how I feel like you really learn this business. Back to Tarantino's point that Brock brought up. You gotta love cinema. If you love this business, you cannot be a bad filmmaker. Meet people that make shitty movies, they don't care. They're transactional. They don't give a fuck. They are tasteless. They don't have any kind of, skill set. They're just like, oh, I make movies. I make money.
Right.
It's the complete opposite, man. When you're an artist like we are, and dude, I love hearing that you did that, man. That's awesome because we all grinding it out in this business, man. Brock and I with the acting stuff, you know what I mean? And then all of us as producers and writers and creatives. And, I've directed my first film, which was, I got thrown into like a whirlwind with that, and I didn't know I could. And I'm getting feedback from some of the biggest players in this game that I made a really good movie. And I'm like, I did? Like, I don't even know. I'm like, how did I do that? Because I started from the bottom. I didn't know shit. But working in this business, you don't need to go to film school. Working from the bottom. You learn everything as, I call it learning while you're earning.
Yeah.
Even if you're earning a few dollars. Bob Iger's first thing he says on the master class, he goes, "Hi, I'm Bob Iger. And my first job, I was a PA for blah, blah, blah at ABC. I was making $175 a week. Bob fucking Iger. Now he's making $50 million a year."
I didn't know he PA'd. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
dude, watch his master class. Oh, it's amazing.
Hell yeah.
So that's just, to allude to like the, people who have no resources and they got to start. In this business, start as a PA, start as background. That's how you meet people. That's how you connect, and then you build. It takes years. It's brutal, but it gets done. It gets done.
And it all stems from that passion, for sure. You got to enjoy the struggle like golf. You're not going to be Tiger Woods your first day of golf, right?
Or probably your last day.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about Tiger Woods, he was playing golf at 7, and he was better than half the people playing now. I mean, it's unbelievable when you see like Kobe's track record. All these guys, like Kobe was always training. You know what I'm saying? Always training. He said he was there more than anybody. He was on the courts playing and practice. If you don't practice, you're not sharpening your tools. What are you gonna do? So there's so many layers to the process, right? But it's just constant pushing and believing in yourself and knowing if you give up now, there's a saying. Not a saying. This is a true story that happened in the gold rush. I'm gonna botch it, but I'm gonna try my best. So there was a guy from the East Coast that heard about where these minings were during the gold rush, and he bought all this gear, borrowed all this money to go and dig for gold. He just was a guy from the street, didn't know nothing. I think he was like a shoe salesman. I'm not exactly, I'm giving the exact background of what he did, but he didn't know what he was doing. He went to the gold place to mine, had all this gear, all this money owed. He wasn't making any. He would find a little gold to pay a little bit back. He would find a little. It was a struggle. He gave up. He fucking gave up, and he sold all his gear to a scrapyard guy for pennies on the dollar. It's a true story. You can look it up. He sells everything to the scrapyard guy for pennies on the dollar. The scrapyard guy's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do with this. But he's like, I'm gonna hire someone that does. He hired what is the word for people who do gold? The geologist?
Yeah,
whatever.
right? Yeah, geologist.
Geologist. He hired a geologist. The geologist went to where he was mining. The guy was 3 fucking feet away from the gold, where he gave up. He fucking gets the gold, whatever billions of dollars or whatever it was. He goes back to the guy. He goes, hey, brother, you got to get in on this. I'm not going to let you slide on this because there was 3 feet away. You gave up right there, and he brought him back inside the deal.
Wow.
So that's the point is never give up no matter how hard it gets.
I didn't expect that ending.
Yeah.
I didn't at all. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Yeah, I've heard that. I think it's in a book somewhere. I forgot that I read, but yeah, it's like about giving up 3 feet from gold or something. Like it's like an actual saying.
Boom. Never give up. That's the moral of that story, because at the end of the day, it gets tough. You start freaking out about bills. You start sweating. You start wondering how you're going to pay your you start selling shit. You start freaking out, taking loans. You owe this, you owe that. That's the price of being an entrepreneur. You want to have it all. You got to eat so much shit to get it. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day,
100%.
it's brutal. But at the end of the day, I guess I would hope that the outcome is worth it.
Hell yeah.
You won't know if you don't try.
Yeah, man. You got to dream a bigger dream.
Yeah.
No more selling those tools.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But what's one more thing on my mind was it was I believe your first launch, right? Your first release, and maybe it was a variant, right? You did some incredible numbers right out the gate, right?
Yeah, we were shocked because we don't know how, how, is it good, is it bad? Whatever.
Yeah.
And we did our first book with
Issue
Scout,
1. Yeah.
and then they have really good distribution. They have Lunar and Diamond, both.
Yeah.
And then in Canada they have like Universal. Like they do well with that. And they would call like every day. They would be like, the orders just went up, and it went up again. And now Lunar matched it, and now they want, I mean, it's not like Spider-Man numbers or anything, but it was. We started selling thousands of getting thousands of orders, and then we had this idea for these blinged out fangs of a photo, and I called Scout and I said, I want it to like a 80s nudie magazine, but it's not. There's no nudity, but I wanted to have that magazine liquor store feel,
Right.
from high school, and I go, no one's gonna ever see that in the store. And then he called and he was like, those variants are gone, and we started seeing them for $300.
eBay, dude, 400. I saw one for.
Yeah,
I was blown away.
And I've seen them a lot cheaper lately because I think maybe more got put into the market or something. I don't quite know how that collectible thing works, but yeah, they were gone. And then the second one came out, and then like a store in North Carolina did a really big order but wanted a variant just for their store, and it was like 1,000 units or something.
Wow.
And then there was one in Canada that wanted a variant just special to their store, and it was like 500 units or something, and they just kept getting these orders. For us it was shocking.
Yeah. Something like over 20,000 at one point. We were
Yeah,
like,
I
long
texted
time
Scout
ago,
the other
like,
day. I said, I don't know our exact numbers, but is it 20,000? And he was like, at the least. And I was like, I texted the CEO and asked him. I was like, that's weird. To us that's a lot of crazy.
Yeah.
That's
No marketing.
no marketing.
Really?
None.
0.0. Now we
zero.
just started the Instagram. We started to get into that. We'll move into paid media at some point when we have like more content that we can utilize. Is that we'll go into that because we were DIY. We were underground, and those kids those comic book, the comic book community was the one word of mouth. And there's no better marketing than word of mouth.
Yeah.
100%.
I had a wow moment where I was in Palm Springs at a coffee shop, and a mom and pop coffee shop, and I went in, and there was this girl working the cash register. I don't know, she's probably in her 20s or something, and I was like, yeah, give me a cold brew or whatever, and she goes, hey, she goes, are you that Night of the Cadillacs guy? And I was like, yeah. She was like,
Or I am.
and she was like, that's really cool. You're in here. And I was like, okay, but it was like weird,
Yeah,
Well,
it's out in the world, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
let's. I mean, let's compare, but not compare. Stan Lee worked at DC. You know what I'm saying, right? Was that didn't he work at DC?
Before starting
Yeah,
Marvel
yeah,
and all that?
yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I
don't know.
believe so. I could be wrong, but I believe he worked at DC and he was.
Huh.
Yeah, we can look it up right now. Maybe somebody can fact
Spencer,
check
can you
that.
check that? Yeah.
I didn't
And-
know that.
That's
Yeah.
a trip if it's true. Like, oh, damn.
And he pretty much, if this is right, then if not, then let's cut it out because I believe he did.
Yeah,
Is
no
it-
worries, no worries.
It says his work is at Marvel is extremely well documented, but little is known about his work at DC. So
Oh, yeah.
apparently it sounds like
So I'm not crazy.
No,
Thank you for the fact check.
I believed you.
No, I already believe myself. Sometimes I dream these things and I believe in them. You know what I mean? And
I know the feeling.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
Brock's like, Will, you're wrong.
so he was like, I'm going to create my own thing. I mean, fuck, he started it from nothing. He's from Queens. He had nothing. You know what I mean? He had to figure it out. Look what Marvel has turned into. When did Marvel put their first? What was Wolverine? The first one? What was it like? Oh, X-Men was the first X-Men or Wolverine?
Well, Fantastic Four in the 60s, right?
So think about that. The 60s. When did they go into live action? 95, 98? What the fuck? I mean, the Hulk was a TV show
Blade
in the
was
70s.
technically Marvel. Blade was a Marvel property.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even
The Hulk TV show with Lou
All
Ferrigno.
TV show,
Ferrigno,
yeah,
yeah.
So
way back.
so 10 to 15 years to get it to live TV or whatever from a comic. And he
Yeah.
already previously worked at a place that was, he had resources because he worked where there was Superman, Batman. I mean, come on, Wonder Woman, all those, that was, he definitely had resources. So just think about back to the reason of why never giving up or how long and hard it is and how it is to get anywhere. Look how long it took Stan Lee to get from day one to what Marvel is the biggest studio in the game. There's nobody doing 10 billion to 15 billion annually in the theaters. They do.
They have like 20 to 30 movies all over $1 billion in like the span of a decade. It's insane.
Yeah.
sick.
So that's I'm glad that I wasn't wrong. So I sound smart.
And then on a whole other thing that is inspiring to me are like these movies like Terrifier 2.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's so cool. Good for them
To
guys.
see that punk rock, again, I love the DIY. I love DIY people, punk rock. Like, to see that wave of small movies hit, that thing did 15 million at the box office.
Sick.
Budget was 250 grand.
Dude,
Yeah,
more.
it
Didn't it do
was-
20 million?
Very slim.
I mean, and what's that Skinamarink thing did 4 or 5 million?
Yep.
And
Was it Talk to Me? Did
yeah.
right? It's like a
Yeah,
$5 million
a lot.
budget, something like that. Did like 70 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
4 or 5 to.
I love those stories.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love those. Like,
Get Out, 5 million, did over 250.
Yeah.
Not even the ancillary. Think
Yeah.
about what it made in the ancillary.
Those inspire me more. Speaking for myself, the big $100 million Marvel movies. I get it. I understand why they work.
Well, they're really like $300 million
Yeah.
Marvel movies, right? And in some cases, like 350. Because
Sure.
with all the marketing and the actual delays and the reshoots and all that, like it's insane.
Yeah, and those are like breathtaking numbers, and I'm not saying don't dream at that level, but when I see Saw,
Right.
Insidious, when I see those things get made for $1.5 million, you know, and they hit a lick off those
130, 150.
without the machine. I mean, they probably have wide releases and all that stuff, but like those are what keep me up at night. Is like because in my mind I'm like, I feel like we're not far off from one of those being able to do that, and the recoupment being so quick, you know, and I don't know. I kind of focus on those stories.
It's a good thing to focus on.
Yeah, because I feel like it's not that far off.
Yeah.
You know, whereas someone's giving me Spider-Man data, it's a little harder for me to relate to it. But like the Terrifier thing, it really makes me happy.
Yeah. Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah.
Craig Zoller.
Yeah, yeah,
Kurt Russell.
yeah.
So good. Yeah, that's my world for sure. Is the indie world, 100%.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sick, dude. Well, where can people find you guys' stuff?
Scoutcomics.com.
Yeah.
On our Night of the Cadillacs Instagram, we have a link to it as well. We haven't really been focusing. I mean, it's all over eBay. There's every comic book magazine outlet, or I mean, Golden Apple. I mean, it's in stores as well. I mean, I can't really elaborate on which ones they are. I know that we have a lot of stores that carry them. But online, you look up Night of the Cadillacs or Lipstick Cliqa, and I mean, you just see everything everywhere. It's tons of articles, links, and things that can get you to purchase and check out the vibe of it. Yeah, it's kind of wild if you go down the rabbit hole of looking, because I remember when we started, we were like so many days in my old apartment, just fucking like we got no resources. We were so like dried up, man, and it was brutal. I'm just like thinking about then and now, and I would always tell Shawnee, man, think about 5 years from now, man, we're gonna have all the fucking resources, all this, and then now we're there and we're like, we want more. This ain't enough. But if we look back at where we were,
like, we're gonna run out of this. We're running out.
Fuck.
Being human.
More.
Right.
Yeah.
So, it's cool to see that now we have access to say, yeah, you can buy something and have a tangible asset in your hand.
Yeah.
And then one day we're going to be like, now it's a fucking movie, and fans that we've curated through this universe is going to go want to see it.
Yep.
So this is the next phase of this journey, is the live, the live action, and then the toys and the spin-offs and the series and the merchandise and that's why me and him, we dreamed for that level, and that's why I would never compare us to Marvel. Marvel's a whole nother animal. DC's a whole nother animal. But hey, man, we want to be the punk rock Marvel that people call us. I'm sure you guys have the same for Kane. You know what I mean? Like, you want, you built this to grow your world into something that's going to grow into everything that you can do, anything you want, into any vertical you want, and that's what I think is powerful about starting your own IP from day one, which is brutal.
And it's important too to find that niche, though, right? Like, I like how you guys have kind of framed it this way the whole time, of like the punk rock Marvel or the the XYZ Marvel, where it's like, no, we're creating our niche within the system, and we're going to grow it organically that way. And I think that's the key. Focusing on your target demo and then expand it. But,
yeah. And you don't know what's gonna, like, you plan this, and then that might accidentally lead you to this, in so many levels. And it's like we brought in these writers on the Chamberlains, and they were like pitching us, and then we said okay, and they started, and they turn in pages, and it's like, Ghost Royce has a beef with a rival gang, a girl named Rotting Wolf, and I was like, what? That's fucking awesome, And we have this like Rotting Wolf character, now that our artists are drawing, and her team are wolves, and it's like, You know, we had, you know, I'm not ashamed to say what we didn't have prepped or do. It's you learn as you go, you know.
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
like we had a lot of shootout stuff going on with these colored bullets, but we never really backed out the story of what those were. We just knew aesthetically it was different.
And you don't have to.
You don't.
You don't have to off the bat. You know, let it sit, let it look cool, and then when the time is right, maybe.
Yeah, and these same guys were like, well, the blue trail, those bullets were blessed, and the red ones were cursed.
Right.
And I was like, home run, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like wow. First of all, thank you. You know?
Right.
And second of all, you know, don't stop coming with these great details, you know, because it was just, there's going to be holes.
Yeah. It's like lightsabers. Where'd the purple one come from?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Where'd the dual one come from? Who's that guy? With Darth
Maul.
Maul.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, we love what you guys are doing.
Okay.
How you feeling?
Dude, amazing. I think that was great.
Yeah. What do you guys have anything you want to say or share? Or like you want us to plug anything?
I want to win the lotto.
Same,
Wants to
bro.
win the lottery.
Somebody won
Same.
$1.8 billion.
Literally an
in the
hour from, not even an
Powerball.
hour from here.
Oh, fuck me.
Yeah.
I was praying. I was fucking putting like everything next to these things.
I was waiting for it to get to one more number, like to a certain number, and it was like 10 million off or something, or like some low number compared to 1.74 billion or whatever. And then it won right before it went
I
to
know.
the 7.5.
It was an hour away.
Like 30 minutes away, like Fresno or something. I don't know.
But just for clarity, the person who won 1.8 billion, let's just call it an even number, 1.8 billion dollars, because it's such a racket, he probably will walk away with $500 million.
Oh yeah, there's 40, 50 tax, right?
Yeah,
And
then they penalize you for taking it out all up front.
right.
So they make you think, oh, everybody in America keep playing the Powerball,
Yeah.
because you're gonna win 1.8, and then then you have 100 million Americans putting in $1 or $2, $3. Think about how much money they make. It's unbelievable.
It's crazy.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'd be totally fine with 500 mil though.
I would be stoked.
All right, boys.
All right.
Thanks
Cool.
for tuning in.
Peace.
Thank you for watching Studio 22.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And follow our socials at Studio 22 Podcast.